Hello, Bridget Bartlett here. Today, I am going to give you an overview of the high level opportunities pipeline. So, you can see here that the pipeline is such an awesome way for you to get a visual representation of your leads and your customers and what stage they are in your sales process. You can see this is actually a pretty long pipeline. We have multiple stages in here, like they've become a lead, they're an engaged lead, they've booked an intro call, or they canceled no show, or they booked here, the consult call canceled no show, consult booked, didn't buy, customer canceled, and then bad fit. Okay, so this is just an example opportunity pipeline. We're going to create one together. But the cool thing about this is that if you are managing your business or you're building this for clients, a lot of the times, especially for non techie clients, it's so much easier for you, the agency, to build out the system and then just simply move the cards or have them move the cards based on whatever action. Okay. So let's say that Linda is managing her business and she comes in here and she's like, okay, I have all of these contacts here in my engaged lead. What I want to happen is I want to send them an email, a text message. I want to ask if they want to book a call. I want to add some tags, whatever I want to happen to my engaged leads. I can actually just create workflows that as soon as I move these cards over, it will trigger the workflow based on whatever I build into the automations. Okay. Now you can also see when I do select, I'm left clicking on the card here. And as soon as I go to drag it, you'll see down here we have lost, abandoned, and won. Okay. If I click into this card here, you'll see the lost, abandoned, and won right here. Okay. So what this means is this an open opportunity, or is this one that maybe we've had a meeting and we found out they're just absolutely not interested or they're not ready to work with us? Then maybe that's lost. And then of course, one would be they became a client, or abandoned. Maybe they just stopped responding to us altogether. And so we're just going to put them in abandoned. Okay. So that's where that is. And that the status will be updated automatically if you move it here into one of these sections. Okay. And of course, you can build automations based on the status as well. So let's actually build our own automation and pipeline so that you can see on the back end how all of that works. Now, this is part of a series that we're working on, the high level overview. We're literally doing a deep dive into all the different tools. You can see last week we talked about the mobile apps, the contacts, the calendars, the conversations, customizing the dashboard. So if you missed any of that, just go to my YouTube channel, just search Bridget Bartlett. You can see this on my homepage. You can also look in all the playlists. If you're looking for training on something specific, you can see I have over 1,000 videos. Now, if you are not a high level member and you're interested in joining high level, you can actually get a membership of my program totally free. We have all kinds of resources, including my coaching daily. So if you want to join high level and resell high level, you'll actually, if you want to click here, you can join high level and get a free membership of my program and check out my bonuses. If you're already on the SaaS plan or you're a beginner to software reselling, I encourage you to join as a client. We're going to give you software that you can white label and resell. But I will say, it's a lot less techy. If you're not used to software reselling or you're a beginner marketer, really encourage you to do this. Also, if you are already a high level member on the SaaS plan, you can join as a client as well. You can resell our white label software in addition to your high level software and all of our resources and coaching and so on. Okay. So let's now dive in to this account here, and you'll see I'm in the opportunities pipeline or opportunities section here. And we have two sections in here. We have the opportunities and we have the pipelines. So we don't have any pipelines created yet. So let's go ahead and create our first one. So I'm going to click here to add a pipeline, and I'm going to click the little plus sign. We're just going to name this leads. Okay. Now, the very first stage of our pipeline is going to be like a cold lead, right? Meaning somehow we got their contact information, but they don't really, like, we haven't engaged with them. They don't really know anything about our business. The next stage is going to be like a warm lead. And of course, you guys, you can see I'm building this out. I'm just making this up as I go. Of course, this is pretty standard, but you can make your stages anything that you want to. Okay. So here is the next stage. So I'm going to say this is a hot lead. Okay, so a lead would be someone who's maybe they've opened an email or something, or we can choose like engagement scores. I mean, there's lots of criteria that you can set to determine what is a warm lead. Same with hot leads. What do you consider a hot lead? What actions do they need to take to become a hot lead to you? And that could be different for your business or my business or anybody else's business. Okay, so we have the client stage, and of course now that's a client, right? And then let's go ahead and just add a lost stage as well. Okay. So now we've created our leads pipeline. We've created all the stages within our pipeline. We can also choose here if you want like the pie chart view or like the funnel view here. And of course you could delete any of these stages you want to. Down here, you can choose the funnel chart or visible in the pie chart view as well. So let's go ahead and just click save. So now you'll see we have our leads pipeline. If we click the little pencil here, it takes us right back into there so we can edit the stages at any point. Okay. Now, if we go into the opportunities now, you'll see that we have our leads pipeline that we just created. We could create multiple and then choose any of those from the drop down menu. So that is helpful. Maybe you want a pipeline for each of your Facebook ads, or maybe you want one for leads, and then maybe you want one for like each software that you're reselling, or maybe you want one that includes like just your booking. So when they've booked an appointment, when you've sent the reminder, things like that. Okay. So you can choose the pipeline that you want to look at here, and then you'll see all of the stages that we just created. You can also choose the search bar here if you want to search the opportunity name, email, company tags, and so on. You can choose here it's right now it's by the date added default. You could choose the deal value and then sort all of your opportunities in that way. You can also choose any of the filters here. So right now it is set to and status is open. If we delete this, then it opens up the whole pipeline. Now we don't have any contacts in here yet, but it would reduce the filter so that it wouldn't just show the open leads. But we could filter based on the owner, if they're assigned, followers, status, and so on. Okay. So the next step in here, of course, we could click here and we could export our opportunities. We could restore any of them. And we could also search through using different information. All right. And then, of course, here is where we want to create an opportunity manually. So we could choose from the pipeline or the contacts that we have available. Also choose the primary email address and their phone number. All of that is pulled in. This is just sample data. So if I pull that in here, you'll see now that it auto populates with the email address from that contact and also the primary phone number. You'll see here the opportunity name defaults to that name. We're in the cold stage here and the status is open. There's no opportunity value. We could choose the owner of the opportunity. We could choose any followers here, the business name, contact source, and we could add any tags that we want to here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and click create, and now we've manually created our contact. You also see you can click here and then manage the fields as well. Okay, and you can see all of that here in the field section. You'll see when you click that, it goes into the settings and then it goes to custom fields. So to get back there, we just need to go back, and now we're in the opportunities. Okay, so you can see that opportunity that we just added. Now we have a card here. Okay, so if we want to check that out, we can click there. Now, you also can check out inside of this opportunity any of the calendars that you have booked appointments in, or you can actually book one. You can see any tasks or create tasks. And then you can also see any notes associated with this opportunity here. And you could also add notes as well. Okay, so that's really the details of the pipeline. Now, let's talk about the automations. Okay, so let's go into the automation tab. And there are a million and one ways to set up your pipelines and your automations, but just to help you understand really how it all works and how you can automate it based on the movement of the card, I wanted to make this really as simple as I could to understand. So we have stage stage one, and that's the cold leads. Okay. So I just created a automation for every stage in my pipeline. All right. So now starting with the first stage, we have the cold leads. So the cold leads, how are they getting into our system? Now we can choose whatever trigger we want to. It could be a Facebook ad, it could be, whatever. But I'm just going to say a form is submitted. Now, if I have a specific form, of course, I could filter down form is, but this is a blank account. I don't have a specific form. So I'm just going to kind of be generic and say anytime in this account that a form is submitted, it's going to trigger this workflow here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a cold tag. Okay. Now, this could be any tag that you want to. It could be if I'm running a Facebook ad, maybe I want this tag to be like lead magnet or whatever it is I'm giving away. But the important part here is that we want to add this cold lead to our opportunity pipeline that we just created. Okay. So whatever you want to happen here, I mean, there could be a wait step, there could be emails, you could update the contact, edit the I mean, you could do any of these things here in this automation, but the important part here that I wanted to teach you today is just the opportunity, updating the opportunity. Okay, so we're going to choose our stage here and we're going to, let's just search for opportunity. So we're going to create or update the opportunity because remember, this is the very first stage. They're not even in our pipeline yet. We have to put them in there. So I'm going to choose the pipeline that I want to add them to when they submit this form. Okay, so I'm going to say leads. And then, of course, they're going to be in the cold stage because this is the very first step. So they're going to be in cold. And now I want to give this opportunity a name. So I want the name to be whatever the contact's name is when they fill out the form. So what I want to do is, of course, I could type in something here and it would be the same every time, but I want to actually use a custom value so that it will populate whatever that contact's name is. So I'm going to choose contact here and let's just put their full name. So now, whatever, if it's Jane Doe, that enters into my workflow. When it creates the opportunity, that card will say Jane Doe. Now I'm going to put the opportunity source. I could make this opportunity, I could type something in here. I could also just click in here and then do the custom values again, go to contact, and then I can put in the source. And then the system will put in whatever source that they came into our system at. Okay. Or what point they became a lead there. All right. Now, if we have a value for this lead, we could type that in here. We could also choose any of the custom values that we want to add for our lead value. And then here we want to choose the status. Now, in this scenario, a cold lead, they haven't made a purchase or anything like that. We haven't even talked to them. So we don't even know if they're interested at all. So we're going to leave them as open. Okay. And then, of course, you have the ability to allow opportunities to move back and forth and build duplicate opportunities. In this scenario and in most scenarios, you're not going to select those. So I'm not going to do that here. We're just going to save the action. So now, just so that you're following along here, they have filled out a form somewhere on our website or something, and then they have become a contact in our system. Now, with that contact, we are adding the cold tag, and then we are also creating an opportunity card. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. And of course, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're publishing this because that's kind of what turns this workflow on. Okay. So now going back here, we have the cold leads taken care of. Now let's go ahead and add the warm leads. Okay. So here, what do we want to happen when the pipeline stage has changed to the warm leads? Okay. So the step that we're choosing is pipeline stage changed. And now we want to, from the pipeline that we created, we want to choose in pipeline leads. And then we're going to say the stage pipeline stage is warm. Okay. So now we're saying when a contact is moved into the warm stage, we want this to happen. Okay. In the warm stage in this particular pipeline. Okay. So we've filtered this all the way down to say anytime contact moves to the warm stage, we're going to trigger this workflow. We're going to add a warm tag there. We're going to also remove the cold tag because we don't want cold and warm, right? Because that technically we didn't remove it. That's what would happen. So we're just going to remove that cold tag when we add the warm tag. And then now we need to update or I'm sorry, we don't need to update that, right? That's all that we need to happen here because we don't need to update because we've moved the card into the warm stage manually. So we've manually updated. So that's why we're setting this trigger like that. Okay. You guys, if I've completely lost you, let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this and then we're going to do some testing. So when we get to the testing stage, I think you guys will understand a little bit better how all this works. Okay. So the next stage here is going to be the hot leads. All right. So you can see this is very similar here. The trigger is going to be the pipeline stage change and it's moved to the hot lead stage. So now we're going to choose in pipeline and we're going to choose the pipeline. We're going to choose the stage now. So pipeline stage is hot. And now we're going to save our trigger. So here we're going to add the hot tag and we're also going to remove the cold and warm tag. Okay. So let's go ahead and click cancel because I've already done that. And let's save. And of course, we want to publish and save. All right. So now the next step is when they actually become a customer, when they are a client. Okay. So what we're going to do is when the pipeline stage has changed and moved to the client stage, we're going to choose the pipeline again. So let's now choose our pipeline, which is the leads. And we're going to say pipeline stage is client and save trigger. So when that happens, when we manually move that card to the client stage, we are going to add a client tag here. And then we're also going to remove cold, hot, and warm tags. Okay. And then, of course, we're going to publish and save. Now let's go back here and let's do the lost stage. Okay, so this is the last one. So what do we want to happen when we move a card into that lost stage? So let's go ahead and choose our pipeline so that we can filter this down. And let's choose the stage, which is lost. Save. Now what we're going to do is add a lost tag, and then we're going to remove the client cold, hot, and warm. Now, having said all of that, now that we've gotten all of the automations and all of that in place, you probably want to send an email at this point, right? Because if you've lost the lead, you definitely want to send them an email and maybe follow up. Maybe you want to offer them like a free something to try to encourage them to re-engage with you. Maybe you want to manually call them. You can set a manual action here if we wanted to do that. It's just something to just kind of recapture their attention, right? And then the same thing with all the other stages. You want to think about now that you have the flow, right? The automations are in place. You want to think about, okay, what else do I want to happen when they end up in the lost stage? What do I want to happen when they end up in the client stage? I probably want to, for example, if they become a client, I probably want to grant them access to a membership area, right? So I could do grant access to a course, grant access to my community. Maybe I want to, like I said, send them an email. Maybe I want to send them a ringless voicemail or a text message or something like that. And then I could even build out entire campaigns in here to send once they move to the client stage. I could send proposals and invoices. There's so many things that I could do, but this is the basic flow here. Okay. So now that we have built our automations, we've built our pipelines, and we have published everything, let's now go to the context and let's add some context to our pipeline. Now, of course, typically this would all be automated because, like we said, they would fill out a form and then they would end up in our pipeline. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to force some of these leads into the pipeline. So I'm going to select 20 of the leads, and then I'm going to go to pipeline change here, or we could even do add to an automation. So let's do add to an automation and let's search our workflow. So I'm going to add them to the cold leads automation, and I'm going to do all at once. And I'm going to say added to cold leads workflow. Now, the reason that you put this in here is because if you have a team and there's any type of action like this that's not part of your automations, you do need the ability to track this down. If this was, something that was done by mistake or whatever, it's nice to know why that email was sent. Okay, so added to cold leads workflow. Now we're going to add to that automation. Okay, so It says bulk action has been scheduled. Click here to check the progress. So let's go back and check the progress here. So you can see it has been complete, and we can even show stats here. So 20 successful, no errors. Okay, so now let's go to the opportunities that we have. And you'll see here now, all of those contacts have ended up here in our cold leads like we wanted it to. Okay. Now, let's say that we are moving through our pipeline. Okay. And what we're going to do is just move the cards. This is the only thing that we need to do now is when we have built our automations based on the change of the stage, right? Like we did. This is all you need to do. So let's say that now I am working with Lindsay here, and I decide that Lindsay is going to the warm stage. So I'm moving Lindsay here to the warm stage. And if I click here now and see what's happening in Lindsay's account, remember what happened. Let's go into her profile. So what we said we wanted to happen was we're going to remove that cold tag and we're going to add the warm tag. Okay. You can also see the opportunities here, what stage and what pipeline that this contact is in. And you can also see that the opportunity was changed here from cold to warm leads. Okay. So that is super cool. Now let's go to let's go back to the pipelines. And let's actually move now, Lindsay, from hot to, or I'm sorry, from warm to hot. So let's click back into the profile here. And you could also look here inside the card and see the profile. And you can see now this contact has the hot tag and it removed the other ones, right? We can also see what stage that they're in and all of that. So if we click on the name, it'll take us back into the profile, and you'll be able to see all of the actions that took place there as well. Okay, so again, we have the opportunity changed. We have the tag that changed, and then you can see here. So let's go and move several of these, right? So let's just move them on through, and you can see as we scroll through all of these here, let's just move them all around. Now, when we go back into our automations, now you can see all of our contacts are moving through. We can see how many have been enrolled, right? The first 20 that we sent through, we have them there. And then we have, of course, the warm leads. And if you ever want to check in to see, what's really happening, if there were multiple stages in here, you'd see a little person hanging out when there was a person in that stage. But you can also go to the enrollment history, and you'll be able to see all of the steps that your contact has moved through that particular workflow. Okay. So really, there's so many possibilities and options and things, but if you just think about it in the simple way where this is the goal I want for this pipeline is to just manually, when I move the card, to trigger the action. So you can see if you're working with local business clients, all you need to do is build out the automations for them, and you say, hey, Bob the plumber, when you get a quote request, all you need to do, the card's going to show up here. And when you enter in this tag, all you need to do, or you can just say enter in the tag if you want, but all you need to do is move this here, and it will add the tag. It will send them an email. It will send them an estimate. It'll do whatever. All of that can be based off just the simple movement of the card. Okay. Super, super cool, you guys. Like I said, if you missed any of that previous training, definitely check out my YouTube channel. You can always see the previous live training replays there. And if you want to join our program and discover how you can generate passive income as a software reseller, you can join as a client or as a high-level affiliate at myvisionagency.com. Thank you all so, so much for joining me. And I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Go make your vision a reality. Bye. For joining us for today's training. If you have any questions, you can join us for open office hours starting right now at bridgetbartlett.com. It's free and open to everyone.